Welcome to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, investor, entrepreneur, and business strategist. I'm here because I believe that iron sharpens iron. And when we bring together successful entrepreneurs and executives, successful investors, and talk about what's working in business and even some of what's not, we're all able to elevate and grow so that we can really up-level ourselves, our businesses, and that impact spreads not only to ourselves, our families, our teams, and their families, but also to our communities and our world. I'm really excited to be here today. I have an amazing guest with me in studio, and she is fantastic. You are going to love hearing from her. Sissy is the founder of Grow and Sell Your Business. She is a one-stop shop helping clients to raise capital, buy and sell business, and connecting the right investors and partners with the right business. She's led diverse transactions from 2 million to over 500 million in everything from ed tech, reg tech, fintech, ag tech, health tech, all the tech, through education and manufacturing. Welcome to the studio, Sissy.
Thank you very much, Jen. Really great to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. So I'm going to just get into the real meat of today, because we were talking before the show about raising capital. And there's a misconception that it's easy. Somehow it's easy to raise capital, that it's easy to get the money that we need to take our businesses to the next level or to launch our businesses. But that's kind of not the case. Do you want to kind of enlighten us a little bit about what it takes to raise capital and some of the things that you've noticed that maybe the myths or pitfalls that people get into?
Sure. Thank you very much. Yes. Yes, you're right. There are definitely some myths about raising capital, and people would say, hey, I write a deck, like a 7-page deck about, or maybe even put something on the back of an envelope and then share it with investors about the future. I'm going to be number one in the world, and then they will invest. But actually, that's far from the truth, because everyone that wants to get an investor involved, they think their products and their services are the best in the world. And so just imagine, as an investor, how many people you actually come across every day. I get pitched so many times every day. And so as an investor, you actually want to just, basically separate the weeds from the actual, the diamonds, and make sure that you only invest in diamonds, because so as we know, the so many businesses actually don't go through the first 5 years, right? The success of businesses is you can start a business and then you can slowly grow. But if you want to get an investor, you actually have to make sure that you got all your procedures and processes in place, because the investor wants to look at who you are and what sort of business that you are actually going to be able to maintain and grow. So it's not a matter of they investing in what you have in the past, because it is they're investing into the future. They want to know that you are able to actually support that future. And that's what really separates the good ones from the bad ones, is to tell the story, to say, hey, we have been able to grow our business in the last 2-3 years at 50% or 100% per year, to say that yes, in the future we're going to be able to grow even better with the support of investor. And that's what I see. And in terms of pitfalls, I think it's most of the time when you hear what people are saying, hey, I'm the only product in the market, I don't have any competitors, or right, there's like heaps of competitors in the world, and even if you have the best product that you think you can come up with, and you'll be sure that somebody else have already done it, or somebody else have done it elsewhere. Yeah, but that's absolutely. Not to say that you can't be the second one, or we've got Apple, we've got Samsung, they're all coexisting, and so it's actually great to be talking about competitors in the pitch.
Something that I've encountered a whole lot as an investor on the investor side, and I'd love to hear you speak on the capital raise side. So many people pitch me all the time as well. And when they're pitching, it's always what's in it for them. It's always from their perspective. Very rarely does the pitch deck take the investor's perspective to the forefront. So can you share with us a few, here are the key tips if you're looking to raise money These are the things that investors are really looking to hear so that they can decide, do they actually want to pay attention to your pitch or not?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you are an investor. We're all part of the same investor group. And we know that investors typically have very, short attention span. So it's really important that you grab the attention, with the first slide or first couple of slides so that you can actually see, hey, as an investor, you want to go forward or not? Because if you started with something that sort of drag on forever, then the investor will just switch off. And that's what you don't want. You want the investors to get interested in whatever you're talking about. And so the very first page or very first, talking start of the pitch it's so important. And then secondly is talk about, as investors, we want to know, okay, if we put in $1 million, how is that the $1 million is going to return to us, right? And the exit plan is important towards the end, but, whether the ROI is 10%, 20%, 3 times, 5 times as well. But it's bear in mind that investors don't just believe in anything you say. If you say we're going to give you 100 times return, they probably will roll their eyes, right?
Yes. Too good to be true. If it's too good to be true, it must be.
Definitely. The smell test.
I'm really curious if you have some pitching no-nos or capital raise no-nos, because you've been doing this for a long time and you've had quite a few projects, especially recently. Like you recently closed, for example, $100 million buy size mandate for childcare roll-ups, right? What are the no-nos, the things that you don't want to put in your pitch if you're looking for money, or what are the things to kind of avoid from the get-go so you can set yourself up for success?
Yeah, I think the get-go is if you, if you're raising a seed fund, for example, don't put in 40 pages of a slide deck, just a $2 million seed, and you imagine and wait for the investor to read a 40-page pitch deck. They just wouldn't, even look at it. So you got to make sure that whatever you're pitching on, you're pitching at the right level. If it's a $500 million transaction, yes, definitely you have to have a very simple, one to grab attention. But then as soon as you got their attention, you've got to actually go further. And they always wanting a comprehensive information memorandum and data room, etc. So different levels for different people, right? And the no-nos is also that you can't, as I already mentioned, you can't say, hey, we're the best. Yes, you say you're the best, but you're not the only product in the market. You're not the only company in the market that actually sells that business. So understanding who the competitors are, what the competitors are doing, and what you are different, how you're different from your competitors is supremely important. What else? I think, if you just say, I'm raising $2 million of capital right now, I haven't got any revenue right now, but I want a $50 million valuation. It's just a complete turn off, right? You got to, okay, so how do I work on the valuation, a $50 million valuation on a zero revenue? Where do you get that? That kind of thing. It's hard to actually consolidate from that perspective, understand that.
While we're talking about valuations, I think this is a really on topic and on trend topic, because valuations have changed so much from this time last year. Even, we had so many tech startups and the valuations were ridiculous. Sometimes like 10, 20, 40x on pre-revenue, even, just like you were saying. But how have you seen, because you've been raising money and it's not like things shifted over a long period of time. It was pretty rapid how the valuations have come down, at least here in the United States. How are you changing and adapting the way you're presenting this? Say you're mid-raise, you have some big raises. You're in $100 million raise, and all of a sudden, what money is worth is changing. What real estate is worth is changing. What things are worth are shifting. How do you adapt your pitching, and how do you adapt that conversation when we're in times like this where the economy is kind of in flux and there's a lot of change happening? It's really continually changing.
Yeah, I think it's very important to adapt. But for me, it's also very important to make sure that your initial pitch is a realistic one. So before I take on any capital raising clients, I actually do a very comprehensive due diligence myself. I will actually look over all their historical financials. I will really dig into their forecast in, what's driving their revenue, what's driving their expenses, and therefore what's driving their future growth. And that I will actually agree with the client upfront. Okay, if your thinking is $20 million valuation, I think you're not at $20 million valuation. If you want me to take you on, then this is the valuation I'd like to go at. And something that I think would be realistic from an investor's perspective, because I'm investing as well. So I see what is a more realistic thing, more realistic valuation. And so you can say, hey, this is what's in the market at previously. There's a few transactions in 2021, there's a few transactions in 2022, and they were at 20 times revenue, they were at 10 times revenue, but I'm going to go, introduce this transaction at 6 times revenue. So people will say immediately, okay, so this is a lot more realistic in going. So don't ask for the really unrealistic thing, because you can go out and say, hey, we're going to want a 50 times revenue. It's just going to go on deaf ears. People will just say, and your credibility will be shot. I think, people will only give you one time or at least twice in opportunity to look at your deals. So for me, it's very important to make sure that when you go out to investors, you're going out with a realistic valuation. Yeah.
Well, and realistic projections as well. As an investor, right. I see so many times, and in industries that I'm very well versed, they'll come and pitch me on something that I know to be absolutely absurd as far as a projection is concerned.
That's right. Yeah. It's chicken and egg thing, isn't it? It's very much chicken and egg. And if you have a very optimistic and over the moon projection, that valuation would be an over the moon valuation as well. And then you would not be as what's the word, like realistic or credible to an investor. And that's it. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's so important. And we both have heard some pitches that are over the moon, and the first thing we do is go, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But I want to kind of talk about getting in the right rooms, because for people who are in their first, or they've dipped their toe into raising money for their investment, for their business, or they're starting this process, how important is understanding the room that you're pitching to, and how do you find the right room for the product or service or business that you are entering into? I know you have a lot of experience in this area, and I think finding the right rooms of people who are going to actually be prospective investors for you is critical. For example, exactly. There are some things that I won't invest in, and so it makes no sense for me to go into those pitches. How do you find the right room? And if you're new to this, how do you find the right consultants to get you in the right room?
Oh, well, get to us. No, absolutely. I think you hit it on the nail. Definitely, it is like anything. Like when you're pitching anything, you got to understand who your audience is, right? If you are pitching an education technology to an audience that's only interested in agriculture, nobody will be interested, right? So you got to really find the right investors, and that's what most of the time consultants or investor groups would be able to help you. Like the investor group that we're in, we're a bit more diverse in terms of industry groups, but I'm also in some other investor groups where they are just focused on, for example, one of them is an impact investor group called Top Tier Impact. We're only interested in investing in impact related businesses like education, healthcare, health technology, and climate technology. So those are the ones that are, that you've got a group of investors that are only interested in those things. And then you can say, hey, I've got a climate technology, so are you guys interested? And then you can then decide on, well, from that group, are these people early stage investors, mid stage or late stage, or even pre-IPO type investors? And a lot of investors are, basically separated in that base. If you search on LinkedIn, for example, you can search on early stage investors, you get a heaps of VCs, etc. And there are, high net worth investors, family office investors, VCs, private equity, and then institutions. So they go from, very early stage to very late stage. And so when you actually pitching what you want to pitch, you got to match it with where you're pitching to. You wouldn't be able to pitch a $10 million investment to an institutional investor, for example. They wouldn't look at anything below $100 million. A lot of them are like, I previously worked in billion-dollar businesses before, and all of my previous connections before I started this business were billion-dollar investors. And so they were only interested in anything above 100 mil or even a few $billion. And so you just don't attract their interest at all for smaller transactions. But for VCs, they can go about up to 10 mil. Then you can't pitch them anything above that. So it's similar to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's so critically important that you do your homework before you even start the process.
Very much
and so you and I both, we've talked about this before, and we've been in rooms where this has come up. If someone's going to start pitching, if they're going to start raising money, what are kind of like the first 1, 2, 3 things that they should be thinking about before they even get in front of a room? Like what are the most important things? Because I like to give action steps here. And I know a lot of companies are looking at raising capital, because lending, like here in the United States, lending has all but dried up for a lot of asset classes currently. Or it's much reduced there. And so we're having to turn to private equity. We're having to turn to private money lenders. And so what are like the 1, 2, 3 steps for somebody who's venturing out in their first capital raise, so that they can get started and have some action steps?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, you have to have a pitch deck, a proper pitch deck. Sometimes you can go with the summary 1-pager or 2-pager to get people's attention. But the pitch deck is very important, because sometimes you can do face-to-face pitch, but it's when you actually get people's attention before you go to the face-to-face pitch. So if you don't have a very simple and easy to understand pitch deck, people would not be interested in hearing your next step, right? So it's like every step along the way. So before you do the pitch deck, it's very important to understand where your business have been and where you want to go. So your own kind of master plan or your business plan of the future, you got to understand that. And then art is in turning that into something very simple. So the hard, we all could, I don't know if you don't understand, not you understand, but about the KISS principle, right? Keep it simple and stupid. Yes, right. And that's so important. The more harder you put it, the harder it is for people to understand. So financials is the other thing that is very important. And so you've got to do up a proper financial, like a 3-way financial, with balance sheet, cash flows, and P&L. A lot of new businesses, they don't really understand how that, how the historical financials translate to future forecast. And that is actually an absolutely important thing, because investors are not investing in history. They're not investing in what happened in the past. They're investing into you and the way that you can take your business to the future, and why you're the one to do it, right? So those things they're all combined into the pitch deck. So if you say, hey, what is the step, that is definitely the first step. And then you got to set up a investor, sort of, what is your investor profile? Who are the investors you want to go out to? You can do that yourself, or you can engage a consultant or someone who's expert in doing that on a day-to-day basis. And they can give you, like for me, for example, outside the group that we're working in, I have another 1,500 investors that I've worked with, on an ongoing basis, and a lot of them are actually family offices investors and VCs around the world. So I know, and I segmented them so that if I'm going to one of them for an ad tech early stage, I know these ones are the ones that are interested, because I'm not going to send it to others that are not interested in them, right? So it's important, and you know, you can do that by yourself, but it's just going to take a long time to consolidate those, because a lot of investors are, as you know, we get pitched so many times. We don't just take anyone just pitching on a LinkedIn or something. We got to have someone who's got, you know, some sort of warm intro. Warm intros are so important nowadays, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Relationships are everything. We want to know who this person is. And if you're just, I can't tell you how many times I get blind pitched, and I'm like, you absolutely have no idea who I am or what it is that I do. I mean,
that's right.
It doesn't take a lot. It really doesn't take a lot to especially if you're cold outreaching. Exactly. It takes a lot to find out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to just kind of briefly wrap this up, because we do have to take a brief break. So if you are watching, Sissy Mom was telling us some of the ways to get started on capital raise. Where has your business been? Where is it that you want to go? Have the business plan of the future, because investors are investing in your future, not your past. Make sure that you have a pitch deck that reflects that, and that's not over the top or over optimistic, I guess is the word, over optimistic, because that's a surefire way to raise red flags, and we don't like red flags as investors. Make sure you have proper financials, your balance sheets, your cash flows, your P&Ls, and understand how to look at what's happening and extrapolate that to your projections for your future forecasting. And finally, make sure you have an investor profile and know who it is that you're pitching to, because it doesn't do you any good. You're just going to get a whole lot of no's if you're in rooms that don't even invest in fintech, for example, and you're a fintech company. So these are a couple of things that you can be thinking of and working towards. But last but not least, I would say, and this is me saying this, and this is my own personal opinion, get someone who's versed in doing it. If it's your first capital raise, or if you haven't had a successful capital raise, hire a consultant who is proven, someone like Sissy Ma, who has done this time and time again, because she has the relationships. The consultants who are doing this and have a track record, they have the relationships to get you in the doors, and they already understand who are the right rooms for you. So those are a couple of takeaways, key takeaways from the first part of this. We will be back after just a few moments. Stick around.
According to the FBI, a robbery occurs every 13 seconds. Homes and businesses without a reliable security system are 300% more likely to be burglarized. Alert 360 provides custom-tailored rock-solid security solutions to residential and commercial customers. Whether it's home security, fire and carbon monoxide detection, flood protection, connected senior care, managed video surveillance solutions, 24/7 alarm monitoring, and life safety, Alert 360 is your ideal solution. In addition, Alert 360 has smart home and business integrations like access control and video shield for a complete peace of mind, protecting what matters the most and reducing energy costs with our top-of-the-line automatic scheduling functions. Alert 360 offers security services discounts to military personnel, veterans, first responders, educators, and hospital personnel. Don't be a victim. Take a strong step today. Call Rosana Torres at 832-863-8574 for your free consultation.
Hey, Lily says AT&T is giving everyone their best deals.
Minus the air quotes.
Best deals.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Told you, the best deals are for everyone here, with a choice of plans.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
At AT&T, we give everyone our best deals on every smartphone.
Hello, my name is Charles Sanders, and I'm a personal injury attorney with the Rose Sanders Law Firm, based in Texas and with offices in Houston, Dallas, McAllen, and El Paso. We assist individuals throughout the entire state who have suffered harm due to the negligence of another person. With my experience as an insurance adjuster, I understand and I know exactly how to counter the strategies employed by insurance companies, and I'm bringing this knowledge to you. We handle a wide variety of situations ranging from car accidents to defamation and unsafe property conditions. We are here to provide support and legal representation at no cost to you. Call us today at 713-221-3773.
The tax and bookkeeping team is key to any successful business. At Gunderson's Bookkeeping, our passion is to help small business owners grow, be profitable, and to prosper. We specialize in supporting small to mid-sized business owners who want to hire a full-time or even a part-time bookkeeper, but just do not have the funds. In addition, we free business owners from the tedious tasks of bookkeeping and help them focus on their business operations, their growth, and profitability. Gunderson's Bookkeeping is your business solutions partner, offering a broad range of services to meet the needs of our clients. A profitable business needs accurate and reliable books, so take a strong step and call us today for your personal, no-risk consultation.
Hey, are you a small business owner that's struggling to double or triple your revenue and profits? My name is Michael Rager. I'm your business guide with Teach Your Business to Fish. Our success operating system will help you double or triple your profits every 2 to 3 years while actually maintaining some semblance of a home life. Call us at 713-201-5559 and we'll help you become a real success.
The best bilingual news, business talk, and technology content 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You are watching Now Media Television, the first bilingual media network in the United States.
¿Quieres tener el mejor recuerdo de bodas, original, exclusivo y fuera de lo común? Entra a www.larevistadetuboda.mx o visítanos en nuestra página de Instagram o Facebook. Descubre todo lo que puede quedar plasmado en el recuerdo que siempre soñaste. Reportajes, entrevistas, un diseño personalizado, sesiones fotográficas y mucho más. Solo en la revista de tu boda.
Bienvenidos a Legal Talk con Natalia, donde profundizaremos en el mundo del derecho y la mediación para empoderarte con conocimiento y comprensión. Nuestra meta es ayudarte sobre aspectos legales de diversas situaciones y guiarte a tomar decisiones informadas que puedan impactar positivamente tu vida. A lo largo de nuestros segmentos contaremos con expertos invitados, incluyendo abogados, mediadores y académicos, donde compartiremos sus perspectivas y responderemos a tus preguntas. Recuerda, el conocimiento es poder. Y juntos podemos cambiar vidas para mejorar y entender cómo funciona el derecho. Así que marca tu calendario, pon recordatorios y sé parte de nuestra comunidad informada. No olvides vernos cada miércoles a las 5 p.m. en Legal Talk con Natalia a través del canal 21.10 en Houston y en las redes sociales y plataformas digitales de Now Media Televisión.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de Now Media es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
Welcome back to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. If you're just now tuning in, you want to go to nowmedia.tv, click on the show's Power CEOs and catch the first segment because we talked all about capital raising, what to think about, what are the considerations, what are the pitfalls, the do's and don'ts of raising capital, which is real and relevant right now. And Sissy Ma is very much the expert in this space. So you can check that first segment out if you're just tuning in. And we're going to go ahead and move this conversation into buying and selling businesses, because really right now is a great time to be growing through acquisition. Whenever we have economic turmoil or change or disruptions in the marketplace, or the business world is changing, it opens up a wealth of opportunity. And so what we're seeing right now, there's a couple of trends, Sissy, that we're seeing, at least in the United States. And that's that the growing older and the baby boomer generation that's wanting to retire, but they didn't really have an exit plan. We're also seeing some businesses that were relying on growth, like they were in growth, not profitability. And now the money has dried up. So there's a lot of opportunities for those who have the capital and are looking to grow through acquisition or strategically acquire or do roll-ups. So let's shift into buying and selling business, and talk to me a little bit about when you're buying. Let's talk about a roll-up. When you're buying a business, what are the things that you are looking for you, your clients, when you're looking at acquisitions?
Yes, thank you for that. Yes. Roll-ups are very, very important, very interesting as well. It's a really great way to actually increase the valuation of the company. As you know, if you're a $1 million EBITDA business, and if you actually are able to get 5 of the $1 million EBITDA business, you get to be a 5 million, and the valuation multiples will increase from a very low base to a slightly higher, whether it's 3 times revenue EBITDA, or 5 times or 8 times or more, etc. And the higher you get to, and the higher the multiples that will be. So for a business, if you wanted to acquire multiple businesses, you need to understand and need to make sure whatever you acquire is able to continue to perform the way it is performing, going on, right? So if you're acquiring, let's say, a $5 million EBITDA business, and you have another $5 million EBITDA business, you want to be that when you acquire, put these 2 businesses together, 1 + 1 = 3, not 2. It's very simple fact is, like, first of all, economies of scale, right? Secondly, it's actually the synergies in between companies. So if you have have an admin office in one business, you have an admin office in the other, and when you combine the 2, chances are you will be able to just have one admin business office and then look after both companies. And similarly, if you buy multiple companies. So that way, you basically increase the profit margin of the combined business, and then increase the valuation of the combined business as well. Not just from a multiple perspective, but also from an EBITDA perspective. So it's almost like the base is increased, the multiple also increase, and therefore you'll get a much better outcome in terms of, going on, exiting to a private equity, or actually exiting by IPO or any other, or trade sale and stuff like that. But I mean, in terms of due diligence, obviously it's important to make sure that the business that you're buying also is able, whoever owns that previous business, that they are incentivized to go on with you in the next, when you combine the business, whether you want them to stay on for a little while, to help you make sure that the business work together, or if they're there, they're already kind of outside the business, they're just an investor in the business, then you can exit them easily. But just make sure that, there are a lot of things like, okay, owner's equity, for example, when you do an owner's transactions accounted for, and we call them pro forma. So make sure that the pro forma is actually done in a proper way, because chances are, if someone has had the business for 20 years, chances are they're using the business as their personal check account, right? So you have to make sure that that is all counterbalanced out when you pay for the business, because you don't want to pay for the additional expenses, or if they haven't been taking a salary, and if you need to actually put someone in, then you don't want to pay for that additional in EBITDA as well. So there's a long list of things that you have to check out. Yeah,
absolutely. And something that we run into a lot, especially with smaller businesses that we're acquiring, small businesses, 1 to 5 million, maybe even 10 million. What we're seeing a lot of times is the owner does have a lot of those seller discretionary things involved, and they've done a lot of things in their financials to mitigate, for example, tax liability and some other things, but then they come to the business and the financials don't always necessarily add up or make sense. So if you're considering buying a business or you're considering selling your business, what are a couple of things that our business owners and our entrepreneurs on the smaller end of the spectrum specifically, because I know once you get to $100 million businesses, it's a whole different conversation, but some of the smaller businesses, like what are some of the things they should be thinking about prior to exiting so they can be set for the best exit for them?
Sure. So as a business owner, if you want to exit a business, before you exit the business, really what you need to do is to set your business up in a systematic way. So there is a process within the business, whether you automate the process or not, so that somebody else can step in your shoes. And that's absolutely important, because if you are the business, then someone is just not, they're buying a business that that you're leaving, so your business wouldn't be valued much at all, right? And the other thing is that, apart from the owner's transactions, it's important that you actually, with your customers as well, that you are set up in a way that customer contracts are done properly. Because I know that if you are being in business for 20 years, you might have had some of those contracts for customers for 20 years, but you may not have a proper contract in place. But when you sell to somebody else, they will want your contracts in your data room. They will want to make sure that you have all the contracts in place so that when they take over, they can take over the contracts as well. Because if they can't take over the major contracts, they will deduct those things from the actual transaction multiples and valuations. We actually had that. I spoke to you about the $60 million transaction that I just did recently. And one of the customer contracts they had, it's been like a 20-year customer, but they didn't have a contract. And, so they had to, okay, so if you don't have the contract, my client is saying, what can we do to make sure that we have this, going forward? And so I gave them some advice in terms of what needs to be done, what can be done, not just legally, but also in the, not just contractually, but in a personal relationship as well. Before you take over a business, you make sure that all the major contracts, the significant contracts, you can get to the contracting party in some way. I know sometimes when you do an M&A transaction, it needs to be under, confidentiality, etc. So you sometimes sellers don't want you to get to their clients. But if this particular business is relying 80% on a particular contract, you have to make sure that you are true to that particular client, because otherwise you lose the 80% and business is not worth much, right? Yeah,
absolutely. And it's so important. And that's why a lot of times, and this is something that I wanted to kind of touch on too, many times there is a requirement for the exiting owner to stay on for a while, specifically to transition the relationships, because in a lot of businesses, specifically service-based, I find it mostly in service-based businesses, those relationships are key. And otherwise you can lose 40 to 60% of your clientele because of the loss of the relationship. So I think that a realistic expectation, expectations.
And also even on the supply side, even that particular business, they have thousands of suppliers. So some of them are very small suppliers, but they do have top 10 suppliers that are very big. And the top 10 suppliers, some of them don't have contracts, and you actually have to go to the supplier and say, hey, we're taking it over, and this is a new contract that we want to sign. I mean, if you're taking over and you're a larger company than the previous company, then chances are the supplier wants to keep you on because you are bigger, you're a better credit counterparty, right? But sometimes there might be, who knows, there might be relationship issues that could actually stop that being the case, because ultimately we're all people. We're not necessarily all just numbers, right? So definitely make sure that your major suppliers are actually connected as well. And, obviously account, legals, any liabilities. One of my clients is a fintech, and they had a investor. We got a 10 million investor in them, but they had a legal case that was ongoing. So in the end, we have to put the investment on hold until the legal case is completed. And so that is very often, you got the warranties to say, hey, no legal liabilities, but don't just say, hey, the seller said there is no legal liabilities, then there's no legal liabilities. You have to check it out. So, what say trust but verify, but definitely verify it from multiple angles as well. So not just from one party, you verify it as much as you can from different angles. Yeah,
absolutely. And
it's a long list.
Yeah, it comes down to due diligence. It's not just about the financial and the legal due diligence. It's the people due diligence. It's having a very clear understanding of what you're getting into. And I really want to go back to something that you said earlier, because it really is super key. When we're growing through acquisition or we're doing a roll up, we have to consider the integration of the systems before we buy the business.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to have a plan before we buy the business. As an entrepreneur or an investor, we have to know where it's going. So that's a part of it too. Like how can people who are watching this and they're like, okay, I'm growing organically, I want to up level and grow through acquisition, I've been looking at this, I already know I need to do some of this due diligence. What are the considerations in the roll up situation specifically, or in the acquisitions? What are the things to consider from a projection standpoint as we're doing software integrations, as we're doing client integrations, as we're consolidating back office or admin? Like, what are some of the things to consider? Because not everyone has experience here. And, first things first, if you're watching, hire somebody like Sissy Ma who's been there so that you've got this covered and you don't make mistakes, because those are costly errors. But if they're thinking about it, what are some of the things that they have to consider maybe post deal closure from what to expect?
Yeah, no, I think you really touched on the major points already. But before doing that, it's very important to put it in a plan, like a 90-day plan, 100-day, 180-day plan, etc., to make sure that you know what to expect and what to plan out as well. So a lot of the times when you buy a business, it doesn't happen straight away. You actually have an integration plan so that things can change, because chances are your technology can, you might be able to use your existing technology. So what happens to your old technology? How do you transfer from the old to the new? Or if you have, the previous one has a technology and the new one has another technology, how do you actually decide on which one goes first? We talked about the education roll-up we had. We had 6 companies from 6 different countries, and each one has their own systems. So how do we make sure which one actually does the best? And we have to get together before you basically consolidate the transaction. You got to have all the things planned out. From a system perspective, from a people perspective, legal, even insurance and operations and all of those things, financials, which financial system you're going to use. Everyone has their own financial system. What customer resources, CRM you're going to use. All of these things has to be considered as well. And then you agree on a plan of attack in terms of, okay, going forward, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And if this happens, you have almost like a decision tree to say, if this happens, we're going there. If this happens, we're going there. So it's to have a number of different contingency plans as well for what happens. Yeah. And, obviously, ultimately, it's the communications. You have to communicate really well with each other. If you don't, then things will just fall into the, what do you call them? Fall into the the gutter or something.
Fall into the abyss. It just goes into the...
Yeah. And then you don't know, something may not straight away, be a disaster, but it will be someday.
Well, and it's really important. And this is a concept in business. And we talk about this a lot. Small problems, you want to address when they're small problems, but small problems will become big problems if you shove them under the rug.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's no different than contingency planning in your business. Any entrepreneur needs to have a business plan and contingency plans on that business plan. We do that for our year, right? We have, this is our plan, but if X, Y, or Z happens, these are the contingency plans. I call it a disaster plan. I'm from New Orleans, so like we think about our disaster plan because hurricanes happen. Well, if a hurricane happens, what's going to happen to your business? How are you going to operate?
Exactly. Very much so. Yeah,
absolutely. And so you've shared so much with us, and I just kind of want to wrap it up in a bow here. And there's so much to go into buying and selling businesses, growing your business through acquisitions. There's so much involved in capital raising, but some of the real high points are do your due diligence. And it's not just financial due diligence, but legal and people. Have a plan, know where you're going, and then have an implementation plan with some contingency planning in place. And I really want to highlight the communications. You said communication, but that is literally key, not only between the companies that are merging or the company that's being acquired and the people and the employees, but also the customers. The customers are going to see a rebrand. Communicating that so that it's an ease of transition is so important. So that you can be successful in your endeavors. So thank you so much for sharing with us a little bit of your expertise. And so if people are listening and they're like, okay, I'm wanting to grow in this way. I definitely didn't know a lot of these things. If that is you and you're listening or you're viewing and you're like embarking on this journey, but you heard some brand new things, get a consultant. Whether it's Sissy or someone else, get someone who has proven results, raising capital, proven results, buying businesses, selling businesses. But if they would like to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you to ask more questions or maybe to hire you as a consultant or to get you involved?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jen. Yeah, I mean, I'm on all the socials, so you can hit me up, Grow and Sell Your Biz. That's the name of the website as well, growandsellyyourbiz.com. And my email address is just Sissy Ma, so my name is CISSYMA at growandsellyyourbiz.com, not business, biz, B-I-Z. Yeah, so that's my website. And then you can look me up on LinkedIn as well. I'm the only Sissy Ma, not the only Sissy. I would be the first Sissy Ma there because I think I've got 25,000 first degree connections so far. So there's a lot. Yeah, so if you search on me, on LinkedIn or on website, you can find, or on Google me as well. Yeah.
And you absolutely have been amazing. Thank you for everything. I'm going to ask you one final question before we go. If you were to go back to when you first got it started in this business and doing these endeavors, is there something you would do differently, or would you have done everything exactly as you have?
Wow, that's a really good question. Yes, I think I would have probably started my business a bit earlier because I started the business back in 2018, as you may or may not know. I have been working in this M&A industry and corporate finance for the last 23 years. I've always worked for very large companies. I've done about $17 billion of M&A transactions, of IPOs, structured finance, and all of those things. I think if I had actually started my business earlier, I would have been able to help a lot more companies earlier. Because when you're working for a very large company, you can, I did all of those big transactions, but it doesn't feel very personal. When you're helping a smaller or SME business, you are actually helping the entrepreneur, and it feels so much more important so that you can see, hey, I'm helping their business to grow from $3 million to $10 million per annum in revenue. I have one of the entrepreneurs I helped last year. They grew from basically doubled their valuation in 12 months, from a concept, and now they are a profitable business already. It feels so much better when you're helping people in that sense. Yes.
You are speaking to my heart. That's why I show up on this television show, because I agree. I enjoy the entrepreneur, and it's life transforming when a small business gets to that next level. When you're talking about big business, it's not, you don't see the transformation as much. Like, you can see the impact when you're working in small business. So that's excellent. And, you know, that's a common thing that I hear. I wish I would have started sooner. I have the same thing. I wish I would have started my business much sooner than I did. Every business that I've started, I've had that same. Every time I wait too long, we always wait until the right time, but there is really no right time.
No right time. Yeah. You don't have to have everything planned. Have a plan, but, you know, do it. Start doing it. Yeah.
Yep, that's it. You heard it today from Sissy Ma. Just do it. If you are watching this, thank you for your time. Remember that the knowledge that you gained today is only a small fraction of the equation. Implementation is where the magic happens. So take one thing that you heard from Sissy Ma or from our conversation today and choose what you're going to take action on, so you can begin to build that positive momentum, because that momentum is what creates where we want to be our business of tomorrow. So unfortunately, all good things do come to an end, including this show, but that's okay, because we'll be here same time, same station next week. Until then, go win today, win this week, and we'll see you next time.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Oye, Lily dice que AT&T le da a todos las mejores ofertas.
Minus the air quotes.
Las mejores ofertas.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Te lo dije, aquí las mejores ofertas son para todos con una variedad de planes.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
En AT&T les damos a todos nuestras mejores ofertas en cada smartphone.
As a home or business owner, it can be tough to find a painting company that you can rely on. Look no further. Hi, I'm Courtney Hughes, owner of 360 Painting West Houston, your go-to painting company for residential and commercial needs. 360 Painting's mission is simple. We want to provide you with the highest quality finish and the best painting experience possible. Our company's residential and commercial painting services are founded on 3 core values. First, quality. We ensure the use of premium paints, high-quality finishes, and proven painting methods. Second, professionalism. We are committed to professional and responsive painting services. We coordinate and plan projects around your schedule and will treat your property with the utmost respect. And lastly, customer service. Your satisfaction is our #1 priority. So before laying a single brushstroke, we will make sure that we understand your vision for your home or office, and we'll do all that we can to paint that vision into reality. We strive to complete every project to your specifications, and we ensure professional, accountable, and reliable service from the first brushstroke to the last. So the next time that you need your home or business painted, give us a call for your free estimate at 713-829-1581.
Hey, this is Michael Rager, the host of Biz Talk TV with Michael Rager. Make sure you join us every day, 5 p.m. Central Time on all Now Media channels and social media platforms.
The best bilingual news, business talk, and technology content 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You are watching Now Media Television, the first bilingual media network in the United States.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de Now Media es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio, y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
¿Quieres tener el mejor recuerdo de bodas, original, exclusivo y fuera de lo común? Entra a www.larevistadetuboda.mx o visítanos en nuestra página de Instagram o Facebook. Descubre todo lo que puede quedar plasmado en el recuerdo que siempre soñaste. reportajes, entrevistas, un diseño personalizado, sesiones fotográficas y mucho más. Solo en la revista de tu boda.
Palitos y Bolitas es la catedral de la explicación. Este programa es la única parada que necesitas para entender los porqués y cómo de todo lo que pasa en México y el mundo. Lunes a viernes, 7 p.m. por Heraldo Televisión.
El tema está en los países.
Liderazgo y experiencia.
Nuestro país debe meterse en las grandes discusiones y en los grandes debates.
Son parte de una carrera exitosa.
Juegan dos estados.
Él es referente en el periodismo.
No definen el 2024.
Javier Solórzano te espera cada noche para llevarte las noticias, el análisis y las entrevistas más importantes de lo que sucede día a día en el país.
Este es el referente de la noche.
Tell me, are you looking to sell a house or buy a home? Hi, I'm Michelle Briggs, and your real estate needs are my priority. With over 2 decades worth of experience within the real estate industry, I know I can help. Whether you're selling a house and moving on to the next chapter or buying a home to create generational wealth for your family, I am the realtor for you. Call me now at 713-256-5465 and let me handle all of your real estate needs.
According to the FBI, a robbery occurs every 13 seconds. Homes and businesses without a reliable security system are 300% more likely to be burglarized. Alert 360 provides custom-tailored rock-solid security solutions to residential and commercial customers. Whether it's home security, fire and carbon monoxide detection, flood protection, connected senior care, managed video surveillance solutions, 24/7 alarm monitoring, and life safety, Alert 360 is your ideal solution. In addition, Alert 360 has smart home and business integrations like access control and video shield for a complete peace of mind, protecting what matters the most and reducing energy costs with our top-of-the-line automatic scheduling functions. Alert 360 offers security services discounts to military personnel, veterans, first responders, educators, and hospital personnel. Don't be a victim. Take a strong step today. Call Rosana Torres at 832-863-8574 for your free consultation.
You probably already know that first impressions are never forgotten. However, did you also know the way you feel about yourself contributes to your quality of life and the opinions of others? Hi, my name is Kristen Gunderson. My mission is to help people by flipping the switch inside their body, which in turn will help them to feel better and do more. In fact, once you feel your best, you will be able to pour into others, keep your cup full, and reach every goal you have set up for yourself, whether it's personal, family, or business related. The way you feel will dictate the way you think and the way you live your life. Feeling your best is necessary to achieve your goals. You deserve to put yourself first. Let me help you flip the switch so you can feel better and do more. Let's talk. I know I can help.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de Now Media es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
Bienvenidos a Legal Talk con Natalia, donde profundizaremos en el mundo del derecho y la mediación para empoderarte con conocimiento y comprensión. Nuestra meta es ayudarte sobre aspectos legales de diversas situaciones y guiarte a tomar decisiones informadas que puedan impactar positivamente tu vida. A lo largo de nuestros segmentos contaremos con expertos invitados, incluyendo abogados, mediadores y académicos, donde compartiremos sus perspectivas y responderemos a tus